Hello everyone, welcome to Watkins Glen International Raceway, where this weekend is shaping up to be a very beautiful weekend for racing. No bad weather anywhere. A lot of new looks of the teams this weekend. Things are shaping up to be quite interesting. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Friday practice as we follow the first group or the first session. Immediately we have our eyes on Fairley, the former driver of Mazda who is no longer competing. Now the number 2 driver for Lamborghini, testing out the new to her Lamborghini GT3 car. But she's not the only one who had a change of car. Besnard, who is right behind her. Ford switched from the Ford GT. The Ford GT is no longer racing in this series. They are now using the GT3 Mustang. So Besnard now taking it for a spin, seeing if he can pull the same magic as he did from the Ford GT out of this Ford Mustang GT3. So far he seems to be well seated. However, the person who seems to be hugging his rear bumper quite closely is Batter, the rookie from last season, no longer a rookie. He was racing with the Hyundai Genesis GT3, who he absolutely pulled miracles out of, might I add. But he is now the number 2 driver for Porsche, following behind Project G, their lead driver. And now that he has a proper piece of machinery, we are very excited to see what Batter will be able to do in this Porsche GT3 car. Maybe he might even challenge for the championship this season, but we'll just have to wait and see. Somebody else who we are very curious, if you will, on how their performance will be this season is Perez, who drove in the Dodge Viper last season. Dodge also not competing this season. He is the number 1-2 driver behind Besnard, and unfortunately he was the face of a lot of incidences in season 2, so this is kind of his make or break season. Either get with the program or lose your seat. So we'll see if Perez can step up to the challenge and have at least a safer season this time around in season 3. So we shall see how Ford does. Another driver in the lineup who is in this practice session today is Casanova, who unfortunately was our minor incident of Friday practice, trying to get the hang of his new to him McLaren, who he is now the secondary driver for McLaren behind Ramsey. Casanova drove in the Peugeot GT3 car last season, which unfortunately was very underwhelming. So now that he's in a more proper piece of machinery, we will see what Casanova is truly made of, and we'll see if he can score some more points this season. Hopefully he does. Hopefully McLaren can be just ever so slightly more competitive this season with 2 cars rather than 1. And that is a big difference this season. Some teams having 2 cars now instead of 1. Another team that now has 2 cars is Lexus, as Ferragori moves to Lexus, no longer driving in the Honda NSX. Honda not competing anymore in this series. Ferragori also having, unfortunately, a very underwhelming rookie season with the Honda NSX, but now driving for Lexus behind Hidalgo. We'll see if Lexus can maybe claw their way a little bit more to the top of the rankings with their 2 vehicles. Ferragori, honestly, really just having a very quiet rookie season. I believe he only scored like 2 or 3 points. A driver who is on the very other side of that spectrum, though, is Rice, your 2-time contender, unfortunately losing out to the championship twice by just mere single digits. Rice just can't seem to get out of his misfortune, but he is now the number 2 driver for BMW, following Kudos Khalid, and we'll see how he can handle this BMW GT3 car. Practice for him has been not very promising, unfortunately, but we'll see on race day. Hello everyone, we are here for Saturday qualifying. All the teams are on the track currently doing a sprint qualifying session. As y'all know, fastest lap gets pole. That is no secret across every form of motorsport. But these teams are going quite hard, especially now with their new team strategies. Some teams now having 2 drivers, so their pit stop strategies having to be more important now more than ever. That was a really good lap. Really good lap. If you could just repeat that for this next session, that would be amazing, right? Mercedes currently putting down some good laps. Mercedes being a very strong team here for the past 3 seasons with Isidro as their primary driver. Mercedes not yet having a second driver. They are still one of the very few teams now that only have 1 car. So Isidro having a lot of work cut out for him if Mercedes is to stay at the top of this season. BMW coming in with their secondary driver, Rice, coming in for another pit stop. Kudos Khalid still out on the track. They're going to have to be very careful about making double pit stops. Hopefully they do not do that during the race, because I feel like that would be very crucial now in this season with double pit stops. So we'll see how teams balance everything going into the race tomorrow. And we are green here at Watkins Glen, heading into turn 1 on race day. Kudos Khalid starting in 10th place. We'll keep an eye on him for now going into this first lap of racing. 10 laps starting season 3. We'll see what these teams can finally do here on race day where everything matters. Barth in 12th place with Fairly right on his behind, going for the move on the outside, going into the chicane. She will fall back, however. Ramos not falling back, losing a little bit of traction there, trying to steal 10th position, but he will fall back, and now he will fight to keep his 11th position from Barth, who is knocking on his door quite aggressively there. We'll see if Barth can get the move done going into the boot. It seems Ramos will do a fairly decent job holding him off, defending the inside line. So very nicely done by him. We will switch now up the grid. Now looking at Ramsey, Davi, who is getting passed by Gills. Davi trying not to let his position go too easily, though. He will switch back, trying to look into the inside line, but he will go for it. He will go on the inside. He will retake his position from Gills. What an aggressive retake from Davi, but he does get it done. However, Gills was looking on the inside, but Davi shut the door very quickly. Very nice driving by Davi and Team Nissan, who is the only Nissan in the entire grid. We are several laps now into this race, and Mercedes has now gained a very dominating lead. Isidro all by himself currently in first place. The gap roughly around 6 to 7 seconds, which is just insane. Chevy in second place with their C8 race car driven by Wyatt's Garage. Third will be Mystics, your Season 1 champion, holding on to a very nice podium position. Project G currently coming under fire by Gao in the Ferrari, who is very closely followed behind by Jensen, your Season 2 champion, and Gills, who looks like to have retaken Davi by this point in the race. So Project G, I'm sure, feeling a lot of pressure with these high profile of drivers just right there in his rear view mirror. And sure enough, here comes Gao looking on the inside of Project G, going back into turn 1, but will he make it stick? He goes for the dive. There's a little bit of contact between the two drivers, but they give each other just enough space to continue racing. Gao still staying to him side by side. There's more contact. Gao gets through, gets in front of Project G, but I don't think Project G is going to be very happy about the way that he got it done. But it's not going to matter, because now Gills is reeling in Project G on the back straight. We'll see if Gills will go for the move as well. No, it looks like he will tuck back in behind him. Oh, but Gills loses it. He loses control. Jensen smacks right into him. His teammate Fairly will go right by. What a hit. We're on board with Jensen. We're going to get an idea of just how hard this hit was. Oh, wow. It was hard enough to knock his camera. Gills, on the other hand. We are now further into this first race of the season, and so far it has been an absolute battle between drivers and teams. Isidro, his large dominance from the beginning of this race no longer evident, as many teams are within arm's reach of that Mercedes GT3 car. And as a matter of fact, it looks like they're going to bring it into the pits. Yes, they are, Mercedes and Chevy. So your lead is going to change here very shortly. Mystics will take pole. We'll keep an eye in the pit stops, looking at these teams, seeing how efficient they are, trying to get these cars back on the track as fast as possible. These cars do take on more fuel during their races, and unfortunately that is the slowest part of a pit stop. And that is where most of the time is either gained or lost, depending on the team. So as we begin to reach the end of this first race here in Watkins Glen, it looks like we had some unpredicted cloud cover roll in. Track temperature will probably drop a little bit due to that unfortunate event. We'll see how that affects the teams here in these last couple laps as we look at Rice try to contend Mystics, a more professional rival of his. The reason I say that is if y'all saw last season, you know the drama that went down last season. But Mystics has always had a more friendly rivalry with Rice. We'll see if these two battle it out a little bit here towards the end. Perez coming under attack by Davi, who has done a very good job at keeping that Nissan GTR on the more top half of the grid this race. However, kudos Khalid going for a double overtake on the inside, heading into the boot. Very nice move by Kudos, taking 2 positions for Team BMW. So that's going to be a nice chunk of points for Team BMW if they get both cars to finish on the top half at the end of this race. And wow, quite the pack heading here into these last few turns. Perez trying his best to not allow any more loss of position, but Ramsey looking to change that as Ramsey gets around on the inside, making his 9th place position. Ramsey now in the points for Team McLaren. Perez guarding 10th place with his life, it seems like now. Trying to get some points for Ford, as unfortunately Besnard isn't doing too much better. It looks like Rice did get in front of Mystics. Rice trying to get as high on the grid as possible before races end. Mystics trying to retake his position. Not quite enough pace. Now Mystics is in the middle of a BMW sandwich. We'll see what evolves from that. Ramos currently in P3. Ramos not having the strongest season despite Renault's past in this series, especially Season 1, actually still holding the series record for most wins in a season. Renault has since then tried their best to double that effort. I was trying to think of the correct word to use there, but unfortunately they have not succeeded since McGowan's exit from the series right after Season 1. And actually Rice will overtake Ramos. Rice now in P3. Podium finish for the number 2 driver from last season would be a very huge milestone to make with his new team. Fairly trying to overtake Kudos Khalid, however. Ooh, a little bit of contact between Mystics and Ramos. Ramos sent a little bit off track. Not sure what the officials are going to think of that in the post race, but it will give Fairley and Kudos Khalid free position. Project G will win at Watkins Glen in the first race of Season 3. Gowan will finish in second. We'll see if Rice... It looks like Rice will come home in P3. Amazing finish for his first race with BMW. Mystics and Fairley 4th and 5th. The rest of your field coming in there. So after the conclusion of that amazing race today, congratulations to Project G and Team Porsche on the victory here at Watkins Glen. Ferrari will secure 2nd, BMW will secure 3rd and 6th. Aston Martin will come in 4th place with your Season 1 champion. Mystics Fairley will come in 5th place in her first race with Lamborghini as their number 2 driver. So huge congratulations to Fairley on that amazing performance with her new team. Kudos Khalid, as mentioned, also came in 6th place. So BMW having a 2 stack, if you will, in the points here in the first race of Season 3. Ramos will hold on to 7th. Cedro will finish in 8th after a dominating start. Davi will finish 9th. Barth will finish 10th. He will close out the top 10 and the points. The rest of the field is here below. A lot of the teammates, unfortunately, falling outside the points. Very, very disappointing start for Lexus, McLaren, and especially Ford. All of those teams not getting a single member in the points. Speaking of points, however, this is the first points of the season. This is your driver points here. And then here, momentarily, the constructors points, which is new to this season, considering that teams now have more than one driver. This is your constructors points, and we shall see just how much these points change going into the rest of the season. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. We hope to see you next race weekend. Peace.